Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our English Conversations. I'm Anna.
And I'm David.
We're so happy you're here with us today.
Whether you're relaxing at home, walking outside, or taking a short break.
Thanks for choosing to learn and grow your English with us.
Absolutely. It is always a privilege to be part of your routine. And today, we have a topic that I think is going to be incredibly useful for everyone listening.
Yeah, regardless of where you are in your life journey right now.
Exactly. But specifically, this is for those of you who feel like you are, just waiting for something to change.
I agree completely. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a guide that is entirely about transformation.
A total reset.
Right. The theme we're exploring is how to change your life. The 2026 Comeback.
It's a powerful title.
It really is. And before we jump into the actual steps, because there are 7 really specific steps we need to cover, I think we should stop and look at that title. Specifically, the word comeback.
Good catch. That is a great vocabulary word to start with.
Because it's not just a regular word, right?
Right. It has a very specific flavor to it. In sports or in life, a comeback isn't just about returning to a place you were before.
No, it implies returning to a state of success or strength after a period of difficulty.
Or failure.
Yeah, or just feeling completely stuck. Like when a football team is losing 2-0 at halftime, and then they fight back and win the game 3-2.
That is a classic comeback.
Exactly. But why are we talking about 2026? I mean, it feels kind of far away. Why not just talk about changing your life next week?
Well, that is the key to this entire philosophy we're looking at today. We live in a world of instant gratification.
Oh, absolutely.
We want the result right now. We want to be fluent in English tomorrow.
We want to lose weight by Friday.
Exactly. But real structural change, what the source material calls a total system upgrade of your life that takes time to bake.
It doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. The guide frames this as preparation for 2026 because it acknowledges a hard truth. It says that the current year, 2025, is just the training ground.
So we aren't just making a New Year's resolution here.
Definitely not.
Because, let's be honest, most New Year's resolutions fail by, February?
Statistics actually show that about 80% of resolutions fail by the second week of February.
Wow. 80%.
Yeah, it's actually called Quitter's Day in the fitness industry.
Quitter's Day. That's a bit depressing.
It is, but the reason they fail is that they're usually based entirely on willpower.
I see.
And not on systems. This guide we're diving into is different. It's about a total system upgrade.
A system upgrade, like updating the software on your phone, but doing it for your life.
I like that analogy.
Because, when my phone needs an update, it usually stops working properly first.
Right. It gets glitchy.
Yeah. It gets slow, the apps crash, the battery drains fast. I think a lot of us feel that way about our lives sometimes.
Exactly. You feel sluggish. Your apps, meaning your daily habits, your English study routine, your fitness, they just aren't running smoothly anymore.
So we need to reinstall the operating system.
Precisely. We need a clean slate.
Okay, let's open up this guide. The very first section is titled, Get Honest About Your Current Reality.
And I have to say, this is the hardest part for most people.
Why is that?
Because the source explicitly states a difficult truth. It says, most people don't change because they avoid the truth.
Avoiding the truth. Why do we do that? I mean, I know I do it myself.
We all do.
Like if I haven't been practicing my French lately, I just tell myself I'm too busy.
Right.
But deep down, I know that's not the whole story. I know I watched 3 hours of TV last night.
It is a defense mechanism. Psychologically, we want to protect our ego.
That makes sense.
If you look in the mirror and say, I am not fluent in English because I'm lazy, well, that hurts.
That hurts a lot.
It attacks your self-image.
Yeah.
So we prefer to blame external things. We blame the economy or our boss, or we say, oh, I just don't have the natural talent for languages.
Yeah, it is much more comfortable to be a victim of circumstance than a failure of your own making.
Ouch. A failure of your own making.
It stings, right?
It really does sting. But a comeback, a true lasting comeback, requires radical honesty.
You cannot fix a problem if you refuse to admit it exists in the first place.
Exactly. You can't fix a leak in your roof if you just pretend it's not raining.
So, to help us get honest, the guide gives us 4 critical questions to ask ourselves.
These are great.
I want to go through these one by one because I think you, the listener, should actually try to answer these in your head as we talk.
Maybe even pause the audio if you need to really think about it.
Good idea. Okay, question number 1. What habits are quietly destroying my potential?
That word quietly is doing a lot of work there.
It is. What does that mean in this context?
We aren't talking about massive, obvious disasters here. Like, we aren't talking about committing a crime or quitting your job in a rage.
Right.
We're talking about the small, silent killers of progress.
Like what? What would be an example of a quiet habit that destroys potential, especially for someone listening right now who is trying to master English?
Well, think about passive consumption. Let's say you tell yourself you are studying English by watching a movie on Netflix.
Sounds like fun study.
Right. But you have the subtitles turned on in your native language.
Ah, okay.
And on top of that, you are also scrolling through Instagram on your phone at the same time.
Oh, I am completely guilty of that.
Most of us are.
Yeah.
It feels like you're studying because the movie is in English, but it's actually just pure entertainment.
Yeah, your brain isn't working at all.
Exactly. It's a quiet habit because doing that for one night doesn't ruin your English.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happens immediately.
Right.
But if you do that every night for 3 years, you will still be at the exact same level. It silently destroys your potential for fluency.
That is so true.
Another example the source touches on is diet.
Diet. How does diet affect learning English?
It's all connected. Eating a lot of processed sugar every afternoon, for example, causes a massive glucose spike in your blood.
Okay.
And then invariably you get a crash.
The afternoon slump.
Exactly. During that crash, your brain simply cannot form new memories effectively. The biology doesn't allow it.
Wow.
So you might think, oh, I just have a bad memory for new vocabulary. But actually, you just have a bad diet habit that is quietly destroying your cognitive function.
That is fascinating. So the bad habit isn't just, I didn't open my textbook today. It's actually, I created a biological state in my body where I couldn't study even if I wanted to.
Precisely. You sabotage the system.
Okay. Question number 2 from the guide. Where am I wasting time?
This connects really closely to the first one.
Because we all have the exact same 24 hours in a day.
We do. If you feel like you don't have time to learn English or to exercise or to work on that side project you dream about, you need to audit your day.
An audit. I like that word.
Yeah.
Like a financial audit for a business, but for your minutes and hours.
Exactly. There is this concept mentioned called fake work.
Fake work. What does that look like?
This is when you sit down at your desk, you have your textbooks open, you have your highlighters ready.
You feel very productive.
Right. Feel productive, but actually you are checking your email. You're reorganizing your computer files. Maybe you're adjusting the font size on your vocabulary document.
Oh, I know that trap. I think we call that productive procrastination.
Yes. Productive
You
procrastination.
feel like you're working, but you're just spinning your wheels. You aren't actually absorbing any new information.
And that is a massive, massive time waste. If you tracked your time honestly, you might find that in a 2-hour study session, you only did about 20 minutes of real focused work.
That is a tough pill to swallow.
It requires that radical honesty we talked about.
Okay, question number 3. I really like this one, but I want to break down the idiom used here for our listeners. The question is, who drains my energy?
Yes. To drain.
So literally to drain means to empty liquid out of something, right? Like draining the dirty water from a bathtub.
Exactly.
So when we say a person drains your energy, what are we really saying?
We mean that after you spend time talking to them or hanging out with them, you feel tired, you feel negative, or completely uninspired.
Ah, the energy vampires.
Energy vampires, exactly. We are highly social creatures. Our brains actually synchronize with the people around us.
Really?
Yeah, scientifically it's called limbic resonance. If you are constantly around people who are cynical, who complain about everything, or who mock your ambition to learn English,
Like people who say, "Why are you studying so hard?"
right? If you are around them, your brain actually downregulates your own motivation to match their low level.
That is scary. So it's not just that they are annoying to be around.
Right.
It's actually chemically lowering your drive to succeed.
Yes. If you leave a conversation feeling heavy and exhausted, that person is a drain. The guide is flat out asking you to identify who these people are in your life right now.
That is a really tough question,
But
but clearly a necessary one.
very necessary.
And then finally, question number 4. What excuses do I repeat?
We all have a favorite excuse, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. It's like a script we have perfectly memorized.
What's yours?
Mine is usually, "I'm just too tired after work to do anything productive."
That's a classic, a very common one.
What are some others you hear?
I hear a lot of, "I'm too old to learn a new language,"
Oh, yeah.
or "I don't have the money to pay for a private tutor, so I can't improve."
Right.
These are scripts we read to ourselves to justify staying exactly the same. Psychologists actually call this cognitive dissonance reduction.
That sounds complicated. What does that mean?
It basically means we have a mental conflict between what we want, like wanting fluency, and what we actually do, which is nothing.
Okay.
That conflict makes us feel bad. So the excuse bridges that gap so we don't feel guilty anymore.
So the excuse is just a painkiller for our guilt.
That is exactly what it is.
So once we ask ourselves these 4 questions, what do we actually do with the answers? Do we just sit and think about them?
No, the source is very specific about this next step. It says, write it down. Clarity creates power.
Write it down. Why is the physical act of writing so important? Why isn't just thinking about my problems enough? I mean, I know what my own problems are.
You think you know,
Right.
but thoughts are very slippery. They are highly emotional and vague. When you just keep your problems floating around in your head, they tend to loop.
Like a broken record.
Exactly. You worry about the same thing over and over, but you never solve it.
Okay, I can relate to that.
When you write them down on a piece of physical paper, you are engaging a completely different part of your brain. You're using the logical, analytical part.
You are externalizing the problem.
Yes. Once it is on paper, it becomes an object outside of you. You can look at it objectively and say, okay, there's the excuse. There's the bad habit.
It stops being this overwhelming feeling of guilt and starts being a simple data point that you can actually fix.
Clarity creates power.
I really like that phrase. It's very catchy. And there is one more quote in this first section of the guide that I thought was just brilliant.
Which one?
It says, "Your comeback begins when you admit, this version of me isn't my final form."
I love that phrasing so much.
Me too. Final form. It sounds like something straight out of a video game or maybe an anime.
Like Dragon Ball Z or Pokemon.
Yes, exactly.
In gaming, characters often level up or evolve into a stronger final version of themselves. Using that specific phrase here is a really clever choice
Why do you think so?
because it implies that growth is just a natural part of the process. Just because you are struggling right now, or just because your English grammar is a bit messy right now, it doesn't mean this is the end of your story.
You are just in a lower level form at the moment.
Right. You can always evolve.
That is such a hopeful, optimistic way to look at it. You aren't broken. You just aren't finished yet.
Exactly. You are a work in progress. And truly recognizing that allows you to forgive yourself for all your past mistakes and just focus entirely on the evolution.
Okay, so step 1 is getting honest. We have faced the brutal truth. Now we move on to section 2 of the guide, which is titled Choose One Identity to Upgrade.
This is where the strategy gets really interesting because the instruction here is kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, it says don't try to change everything.
Right.
Which is such a relief because usually when I decide I want to change my life, I try to change my diet, my sleep schedule, my work habits, and start a new hobby all on a Monday morning.
And how does that usually go?
By Tuesday afternoon, I'm completely exhausted and I give up.
And that is exactly why most people fail. Psychologists call it decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Yes. If you try to change 10 different things at once, you completely deplete your willpower battery by noon.
That makes perfect sense.
Guide suggests a different approach. It says you should focus on identity, rather than outcomes.
Identity over outcomes. Can you break that down for us? What is the actual difference between those two things?
Sure. An outcome is a specific result you want to achieve.
Okay.
For example, saying, I want to lose 5 kilograms, or I want to have $1 million, or for our listeners, I want to pass the advanced English exam.
Okay, so those are goals. And we are always taught to set goals.
Right. Setting goals is standard advice.
Yeah.
But an identity is about who you are at your core.
So how does that change the statement?
So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you shift it to, I'm becoming someone who trains daily.
Oh, I see.
Instead of, I want to pass the exam, you say, I am becoming a disciplined student.
But hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't that just lying to yourself? If I sit on the couch eating a whole bag of potato chips and say out loud, I am an athlete, that feels totally fake. It feels like a delusion.
That is a very valid skepticism. And you are right. If you just say the words and do absolutely nothing to back them up, it is a delusion.
Right.
But the psychology at play here is about something called cognitive consistency.
Cognitive consistency. Okay, what is that?
We naturally have a deep psychological need for our actions to match our internal labels. If you truly deeply start to believe the identity, I am a healthy person, then sitting there eating the chips suddenly starts to feel very wrong to you.
It creates a mental friction.
Yes, friction.
So if my identity is I am a smoker, then smoking a cigarette feels completely normal and natural.
Right.
But if my identity shifts to I am a non-smoker, then picking up a cigarette feels like a betrayal of who I am.
Exactly. And the source material actually mentions the book Atomic Habits by James Clear here.
Oh, that's a fantastic book.
It really is a Bible for this kind of behavioral thinking. Clear argues that every single action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
A vote. I really like that visual.
Yes. So you aren't lying to yourself. You're simply casting votes. Today, you sat down and studied English for 10 minutes. That is one concrete vote for the identity of, I am a dedicated language learner.
And eventually you gather enough votes that the new identity becomes your undeniable reality.
Precisely. The guide also brings up Kobe Bryant here as a prime example.
The basketball legend. How does he fit into this identity concept?
Well, Kobe didn't just walk around saying he wanted to win championships. He actually created an alter ego for himself.
Oh, right. The Black Mamba.
Yes, the Black Mamba. He built this identity as a relentless worker, a completely disciplined competitor.
Okay.
Because he believed he was that specific person, he naturally did the brutal work that type of person would do. The championships were just a byproduct of his identity.
He didn't practice just to win a specific game. He practiced because that is simply who he was.
That is a subtle but incredibly powerful shift in mindset.
It really is. So to help with this, the guide gives us what it calls a magic sentence to fill in.
Yes, it's a fill in the blank exercise.
The sentence is, I am becoming the type of person who blank.
Right. And I think we should probably brainstorm a few examples for our listeners right now, specifically regarding language learning.
I think that's a great idea because I know so many listeners struggle with imposter syndrome.
Oh, huge problem.
They constantly feel like they aren't real English speakers yet. They think, my English is bad, so I am not a speaker. I am just a student.
Exactly. So instead of focusing on the outcome and saying, I want to learn English, what should they put in that blank space?
Maybe they could say, I am becoming the type of person who practices English every single day, no matter what.
That's a great one. Or maybe something even deeper, like, I am becoming a confident communicator.
Yes, I am becoming a confident communicator. I love that one.
It is so powerful because even if you make a terrible mistake in grammar today, you can still be a confident communicator.
Right. You just confidently make the mistake and keep going.
Exactly. It completely changes the focus from demanding perfection to developing your personality.
So to you listening right now, I want you to really think about that blank space. Who are you becoming? Don't obsess over the final test score yet. Think about the person you are molding yourself into.
Once you decide on that identity, the daily actions become so much easier to choose. You just ask yourself, what would a confident communicator do in this exact situation?
And they would probably speak up, even if their heart was pounding and they were scared.
Exactly.
Speaking of taking action, let's move right into section 3. We have our brutal truth. We have our new chosen identity. Now we need a concrete plan. The guide says, build a 90-day comeback plan.
And importantly, the very first sentence of this section says, forget 5-year plans.
Forget them. Why? I always thought 5-year plans were the gold standard of adulting. You know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? It's a classic job interview question.
It is the classic question, but for actual boots on the ground behavioral change, 5 years is basically an eternity.
It is a long time.
It is simply too far away for our brains to process.
Yeah.
The human brain is notoriously bad at prioritizing rewards that are 5 years in the future.
We want the reward now.
Right. We will almost always prioritize eating the donut right now over having a healthy body 5 years from now. The timeline is too stretched out to feel urgent.
That makes total sense when you put it like that.
Also, there's a concept called Parkinson's Law.
Parkinson's Law, what does that state?
It states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Oh, I've definitely experienced that.
Right. If you give yourself a full month to write a report, it will take you a month.
But if your boss says it's due tomorrow, you somehow get it done in a day.
Exactly. So if you give yourself 5 years to learn conversational English, it will undoubtedly take you 5 years. But if you give yourself 90 days to reach a specific conversational milestone, you will work with a completely different level of intensity.
90 days creates a sense of real urgency.
Correct. It's short enough that you can actually see the finish line from day one, but it is long enough to make real biological and neurological progress. It breaks the endless cycle of procrastination.
Okay, so we are intensely focusing on the next 3 months. The guide breaks this 90-day period into 3 distinct phases. And if you're listening, I really want you to pay close attention here because this is the actual roadmap.
Yes, grab a pen if you need to.
Phase 1 covers days 1 to 30. What is the primary focus of this first month?
Phase 1 is all about discipline. It is entirely about resetting your physical and mental foundation.
And what specific actions does the source list for this?
It lists 4 things. Fix your sleep, move daily, meaning get some exercise, remove all distractions, and crucially, limit social media.
I have to be honest here, David. This
Yeah.
sounds incredibly basic, almost a bit boring. I mean, I want to learn advanced English vocabulary, not be told to go to bed at 10 p.m.
Oh, I know. It does sound boring.
It feels like advice from my mother.
It does, but there is a reason for it. You cannot build a massive skyscraper on a swamp. You need to pour a solid concrete foundation first. Let's look at the actual science for a second. Why is sleep so critical?
Well, I assume just because if we are tired, we can't focus.
It is way more profound than that. Sleep is the specific time when your brain physically consolidates memory.
Consolidates, meaning locks it in.
Yes. If you spend 3 hours studying English vocabulary during the day, but then you only sleep for 4 or 5 hours that night, your brain physically does not have the time to move that new vocabulary from short-term memory into long-term storage.
Are you serious?
Completely serious. You are essentially throwing away your study time. The data just gets deleted to make room for the next day.
So sleeping is actually an active part of studying.
100%.
Yeah.
Sleeping is studying. And the other point, removing distractions and limiting social media, that is all about dopamine regulation.
Dopamine, the reward chemical in the brain.
Right. If your brain is addicted to the constant high-speed dopamine hits of swiping on TikTok or Instagram reels.
Where you get a new laugh or a new shock every 3 seconds.
Exactly. If your brain is used to that speed, it will find sitting down and reading a book or studying grammar rules to be incredibly painfully boring. You physically won't be able to pay attention.
I've felt that. I try to read a book and after 2 pages, I'm twitching to check my phone.
Yes, your dopamine receptors are fried. So you need to intensely detox your brain during phase 1 so that doing boring, difficult work becomes biologically possible for you again.
I say it's like cleaning your palate before a really complex meal. You need to completely reset your brain's tolerance for boredom.
That's a great way to look at it. So days 1 to 30, it is boring. It is simple. It is all about basic discipline. Don't worry about being a genius yet. Just show up and fix your biology.
Got it. Okay, now we move into phase 2. This is days 31 to 60. The focus here shifts to skill.
Yes, this is where you finally start adding new value to yourself.
What are the specific actions for this second month?
The guide suggests learn something highly valuable. Read for 20 to 30 minutes every single day. And here's the key phrase it uses. Practice deliberately.
Oh, let's unpack that phrase. Deliberate practice. How is that functionally different from just practicing?
That is a really important distinction to make. Let's use English as our example. Just practicing might mean having a podcast like this one playing in the background while you wash the dishes or commute to work.
Which is good, right? It's exposure.
It is good. It is exposure, but it is passive. You might zone out and miss 50% of the words, and you don't really care because you're mostly focused on the dishes.
Right. The language just sort of washes over you.
Exactly. Deliberate practice, on the other hand, is intensely focused and intentional. Frankly, it should be uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable how?
Means you sit down at a desk with a notebook. You listen to a single sentence of audio. You pause it. You try to repeat it exactly as the speaker said it. You write down any new words. You look up the pronunciation, and you actively try to create your own sentences using those words.
That sounds like shadowing.
Yes, shadowing is a prime example of deliberate practice. It requires maximum mental effort.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. Anders Ericsson, the psychologist who actually coined the term deliberate practice, explicitly says that if you aren't feeling mentally exhausted after a session, you probably weren't doing it right.
Wow. So in phase 2, we completely stop just passively consuming English and we start actively wrestling with it.
Yes, we are installing the new software. We are actively physically building new neural pathways in the brain.
Okay, that brings us to the final month, phase 3. Days 61 to 90. The focus here is exposure.
And for most people, this is by far the scariest part. This is about taking what you've built and putting yourself out there.
The action list here says, share your work, apply for opportunities, network, and take real risks.
The ultimate goal here is to interact with the real, unpredictable world. You have spent month 1 building the discipline. You spent month 2 building the hard skill. Now you have to test it.
For an English learner listening to us right now, this is the absolute moment of truth. Does this mean actually having a live conversation with a native speaker?
Yes, absolutely. Or if that's not possible, maybe it means posting a long comment in English on a YouTube video and seeing if people respond. Or applying for a job that specifically requires English proficiency. Or standing up and giving a presentation at work.
That is utterly terrifying for a lot of people. I remember when I was first learning Spanish, I would sit in my room and study grammar for months. But the exact moment I had to speak to a waiter in a real restaurant, I completely froze. I forgot everything and just pointed nervously at the menu.
That is a completely normal human reaction. It's called performance anxiety. But the guide has a truly brilliant insight here that I think solves this paralysis.
What does it say?
It says, momentum builds confidence.
Momentum builds confidence. Can you break down what that actually means in practice?
It means we usually get the internal sequence completely backward. We sit around thinking, I will wait until I feel 100% confident, and then I will finally start speaking.
Yes, that is exactly what we think. We say to ourselves, I'm just not ready yet. I need to study one more textbook.
But human psychology just doesn't work that way. You have to speak first. You have to take the terrifying action first.
Before you are ready.
Yes. You feel the fear, your hands are shaking, you do it anyway, and then when you survive the interaction and you realize you actually communicated, then the confidence arrives. Confidence is just the memory of survival.
Confidence is the memory of survival.
Wow.
That is profound.
It really is.
So you absolutely cannot think your way into feeling confident. You literally have to act your way into it.
Absolutely. Phase 3 is about breaking out of your protective shell.
Yeah.
You have to expose your fragile new identity to the harsh light of the real world.
So that is a complete 90-day plan. Discipline in month 1 to fix the broken biology, skill in month 2 to build the actual capability, and exposure in month 3 to build the real world confidence. It is very logical.
It is. It perfectly prevents you from trying to run a marathon before you have even learned how to walk properly.
Now let's transition to section 4, because while we are building all these great new things, we also need to actively stop the bad things. This section is titled, Remove Energy Leaks.
This is such a fantastic visual metaphor.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself as a large wooden bucket.
Okay, I'm a bucket.
You are trying desperately to fill yourself up with new knowledge, positive habits, and language skills.
Right.
But if there are massive holes in the bottom of your bucket, it honestly doesn't matter how much water you pour in at the top. It all just leaks out.
The guide argues that a comeback is less about adding more things to your to-do list and much more about systematically removing what is slowing you down.
Exactly. We are always so obsessed with asking, what new thing can I add to my routine? But usually the better question is, what stupid, destructive thing can I stop doing today?
So let's look at the specific leaks the guide identifies. The very first one is toxic comparisons.
This is defined as comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20.
Oh, I am so guilty of this, especially on social media. I will look at an influencer online who speaks 5 different languages absolutely perfectly, and I just feel terrible about myself because I'm struggling so hard with my second language. I just feel small and inadequate.
Right, but that is a totally unfair comparison. You don't see the 10 years of grueling study they did behind closed doors. You only see the polished, edited result.
That's true.
Or maybe they grew up in a fully bilingual household. You simply do not know their context. Engaging in that kind of comparison instantly drains your energy. It makes you feel like giving up.
So what do we do?
You have to ruthlessly cut that leak out. Unfollow those accounts immediately if they make you feel bad instead of inspired.
Protect your energy. I like that. The second leak on the list is a very modern vocabulary term. It's called doom scrolling. Can you explain this one for our listeners?
Sure. Let's break down the word. Doom means death, destruction, or just a terrible, unavoidable fate.
Very cheerful.
Right. And scrolling refers to the physical action of moving your thumb up the screen on your smartphone.
Okay.
So doom scrolling is when you sit there, usually late at night in bed, just endlessly scrolling through horrible news articles, angry political comments, or toxic social media feeds that make you feel deeply anxious and hopeless.
It's like a weird addiction. I have to admit, David, literally last night I fell right into a doom scroll trap.
It happens to the best of us. What were you reading?
I was reading endless news articles about the global economy for like 45 minutes straight. I wasn't learning anything new or useful. I was just getting more and more stressed out. I felt physically heavy and tight in my chest afterward.
We have all been exactly there. And neurologically, what you were doing was continuously activating your amygdala.
The amygdala, that's the fear center of the brain, right?
Yes. When your brain is artificially kept in a state of high fear and stress, it literally shuts down the learning centers. You cannot be creative or optimistic or absorb new English vocabulary when you are doom scrolling. It is a massive gaping leak of your mental vitality.
That is terrifying. Okay, the next energy leak is negative self-talk. That's the voice inside your head, right?
Yes, the internal narrator. Every human being has what neuroscientists call a default mode network in the brain that constantly narrates our daily lives.
And sometimes that narrator is incredibly mean.
Exactly. If your internal voice is constantly whispering, "You're stupid, you'll never learn this language, you always fail at everything," that is a massive energy leak.
You are basically fighting a daily war against yourself.
Yes. And you will always lose that war. You need to actively train yourself to treat yourself like you would treat a good friend.
That's a great rule of thumb. I would never look at a friend who made a grammar mistake and say, "Wow, you are so stupid."
Exactly.
Yeah.
You would be supportive. You have to extend that same grace to yourself.
And finally, the last energy leak is people who mock your growth.
This one is sad, but incredibly common.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you genuinely try to improve your life, like starting to learn English or going to the gym, your own friends or family might actually make fun of you for it.
They might say things like, oh, look at you trying to be so smart. Do you think you're better than us now?
Yes.
But why do they do that? That just sounds like a terrible, unsupportive friend.
It is, but it usually comes from a place of deep insecurity because your sudden growth makes them painfully aware of their own stagnation.
Ah, I see.
If you start improving, it acts like a mirror, highlighting the fact that they're standing completely still. So instead of joining you, they mock you to try and pull you back down to their level. It's more comfortable for them.
That perfectly describes the crab bucket theory.
The crab bucket theory.
Yeah, if you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, if one crab tries to climb out and escape, the other crabs will physically reach up and pull it back down into the bucket with them.
That is a perfect metaphor for human behavior sometimes. And the guide's rule here is very blunt. It says, protect your focus like it's oxygen.
Because you literally need focus to survive this comeback.
Exactly. Do not let these people steal your oxygen. You might honestly need to temporarily distance yourself from certain friends during your 90-day comeback.
That is harsh, but necessary. And that leads us perfectly right into section 5 of the guide. Upgrade your environment. Because if the people around you are dragging you down, that is fundamentally an environmental problem.
Right. And the source makes a very bold foundational claim here. It states, your environment is stronger than your motivation.
Stronger than motivation. That is a really big statement.
It is, but behavioral science absolutely backs it up.
How so?
Imagine you are trying your hardest to quit eating sugar, but you keep a giant glass bowl of chocolate candies sitting right in the middle of your work desk.
That sounds like torture.
It is. You might successfully resist eating the chocolate for an hour. If you have great willpower, maybe you resist for 2 hours.
But eventually,
You will get slightly tired or slightly stressed by an email. Your willpower will completely evaporate and you will eat the chocolate. The environment always wins in the long run.
So if you really want to change your behavior, you have to preemptively change your surroundings so you don't have to rely on willpower.
Exactly. The guide suggests starting with some very simple physical changes.
Like what?
The first one is just clean your room.
Clean your room.
Yes. A messy, cluttered room actually creates a messy, cluttered mind. Visual clutter has been shown to raise baseline cortisol levels, which is the primary stress hormone.
Wow, so just looking at a messy desk makes you stressed.
Yes, it drains your energy. The next suggestion is to change your wallpaper, meaning the background image on your phone or your computer screen. Change it to something that actively inspires you or constantly reminds you of your 90-day goal.
What about specifically for our English learners? How do we proactively upgrade our environment for language learning?
Oh, there's so many ways. The easiest one is to immediately change your phone's operating language to English.
That is a huge environmental shift. You look at your phone 100 times a day.
Exactly. You force your brain to interact with English just to check your messages. Another great one is to take physical Post-it notes and label things all around your house in English. Put a note on the fridge that says fridge. Put one on the mirror.
It forces your brain to constantly engage with the vocabulary every single time you walk around your own kitchen.
Right. And the guide also specifically says, move your desk.
Move your desk. Why would simply moving the desk matter?
Because it completely changes your physical perspective.
Yeah.
Literally. Let's say you currently sit in a specific spot in your room where you historically used to waste hours playing video games.
Okay.
Your brain has unconsciously formed a powerful association. That physical spot equals playing games. It is what psychologists call a context trigger.
So every time I sit there, my brain expects to play a game, not study English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you literally move the desk to a different wall, or honestly even just sit on the opposite side of the table, it sends a powerful, fresh signal to your brain. It says, this is a brand new physical space, intended for a brand new behavior.
That makes a lot of sense. It breaks the old pattern. And then, of course, there is the social environment. The guide says, join a better circle.
Yes. And this directly connects back to a concept called the osmosis effect.
Osmosis. I remember that from high school. That's a biology term, right?
It is. In cellular biology, it describes how molecules naturally move through a semi-permeable membrane from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration until everything is equal.
Okay, so how does a biology term apply to our social circle?
Socially, osmosis means that human beings unconsciously absorb the qualities, the attitudes, and the daily habits of the people we spend the most time with. We equalize with our environment.
So if I hang out every day with people who complain about their lives, I will slowly start complaining about mine.
Correct. We have these incredible things called mirror neurons in our brains that are literally designed to copy the behavior of the people around us to help us fit into the tribe.
So we are biologically programmed to copy our friends.
Exactly. But you can use this hack to your advantage. If you actively surround yourself with people who aim higher, who are constantly learning, who are positive, your own personal standards will naturally rise automatically.
You don't even have to try as hard.
Right. You just adapt to the new higher baseline of the group.
So, if you are listening right now, I really want you to think about your circle. Are you passively absorbing positivity and ambition, or are you absorbing negativity?
It's a crucial question.
And hey, if you feel like you don't have a good supportive circle physically around you where you live right now, you can always find one online. Listen to educational podcasts like this one. Hang out with us.
Exactly. We would be honored to be part of your positive circle.
Okay, let's move to section 6. We have the plan, we have fixed the environment, we have the brutal honesty, now we need the engine to drive all of this. This section is called Master Your Mindset and Make Pain Your Fuel.
This is a really intense section. The source actually references David Goggins here.
David Goggins, he is a former Navy SEAL and a famous ultramarathon runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is known for being incredibly, almost insanely tough mentally.
Yes, he wrote a wildly popular book called Can't Hurt Me.
He is extremely intense. I've seen clips of his videos online. He yells at the camera a lot.
He definitely does. His delivery isn't for everyone, but the core physiological message of what he talks about is completely valid. The guide makes a really important distinction here about what toughness actually is.
What does it say?
It says that true mental toughness does not mean never feeling doubt.
That's reassuring because everyone feels doubt. I mean, even someone like David Goggins must feel doubt, right?
Absolutely. Recent neuroscience studies have focused on a specific part of the brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex.
The anterior mid-cingulate cortex, that's quite a mouthful.
It is, but it's fascinating. Scientists have found that this specific area of the brain actually physically grows in size when you force yourself to do things that you explicitly do not want to do.
Really?
Yes. For example, if you actually love running and you go for a 5-mile run, that part of your brain does not grow. It was easy for you.
Because there was no internal resistance.
Exactly. But if you absolutely hate running and you force yourself to go anyway, that specific part of the brain gets physically bigger and denser. Huberman and other neuroscientists believe that is the literal physical source of human willpower.
That is mind-blowing. So mental toughness just means acting despite the doubt. It means you feel scared, you feel lazy, you feel entirely unsure of yourself, and you just do the work anyway to build that brain muscle.
Exactly. And this directly connects to what the guide calls the motivation trap.
The motivation trap. It says here, you won't feel motivated every day in 2026.
And that is the absolute unvarnished truth.
Yeah.
Motivation is just an emotion, like happiness or sadness or anger. It naturally comes and goes based on how well you slept or what you ate.
You cannot rely on an emotion to build a system.
No. If you only sit down to study English on the random days when you magically feel motivated, you will literally never become fluent. It takes too long.
So the equation the guide gives is consistency is greater than motivation.
Yes. Consistency means doing the boring, deliberate practice, even on the days when you actively resent it. That is exactly where the magic happens and where the brain physically changes.
And then there's this very interesting, slightly darker part in this section about using the past. Specifically, using the pain you experienced in 2025.
This is a very powerful psychological tool. We all have painful, bad memories from the last year.
Yeah. Maybe it was a moment of intense embarrassment, like you made a terrible grammar mistake during a work presentation and everyone in the room just stared at you.
Right. Or maybe it was a painful rejection. You didn't get that promotion you desperately applied for because your English proficiency simply wasn't high enough.
Or maybe just the quiet, heavy regret of realizing you wasted an entire year watching Netflix.
Exactly. Now, the natural human reaction to those painful memories is to try to suppress them, to bury them as deep as possible.
Right, the whole good vibes only culture. Just forget the bad stuff and smile.
But the guide strongly disagrees with that. It says you must turn those painful memories into reminders, not just regrets.
How do we actually do that? How do we use the pain without it depressing us?
You basically weaponize it. You use the pain as fuel. When you wake up and you feel lazy, when you really want to skip your scheduled study session and just sleep in, you deliberately force yourself to remember that exact moment of intense embarrassment.
You bring up the bad memory on purpose.
Yes. You vividly remember exactly how terrible it felt to be rejected from that job. And then you use that flash of anger or that sting of sadness to physically push yourself out of bed into your desk to study.
So instead of letting the pain weigh you down like a heavy backpack full of rocks, you take the rocks out and throw them in the furnace. You use them as coal to power the train.
That is a brilliant analogy. Burn it as fuel. Make the pain actually useful to you. You say to yourself, I am choosing to study right now so that I never ever have to feel that pathetic way again.
That completely flips the script. It turns you from a passive victim of your past into an active fighter for your future. It gives a real purpose to your suffering.
It really is a powerful, life-changing shift if you can master it.
Okay, we are approaching the very end of the guide, the outro section, and it has a very interesting title. It's called The Quiet Comeback.
The best comebacks are quiet. No announcements, just work.
This feels so incredibly relevant to our modern social media culture.
Oh, absolutely.
We have this overwhelming urge, right? Whenever we decide to start a new diet or buy a new language course, the very first thing we want to do is post a selfie on Instagram. We write a long caption like, "Day one of my new life, watch me grow." I mean, I've definitely done it.
We all have. It's human nature to want applause. But the guide firmly suggests that you should not do that.
Why not? I always thought it was good to have public accountability. You know, tell the whole world your goal so you're too embarrassed to quit.
Sometimes that works for certain personalities. But for the vast majority of people, posting about your grand plans online actually gives your brain a cheap, unearned dopamine hit.
Unearned.
Yes. You post the photo, and immediately you get likes. Your friends comment things like, wow, good job.
No.
Or you go, girl, I'm so proud of you.
But that feels really good.
It feels great. But that's the danger. Your brain processes all that praise and actually feels like you have already achieved the goal. You feel the deep satisfaction of the final reward before you have done a single minute of the actual hard work.
Oh, wow. So you completely lose the hunger. You trick your own brain into thinking you just won the gold medal when all you actually did was tie your shoes at the starting line.
That is exactly what happens. You drain your motivation tank for some cheap internet likes. So, the guide strongly advises, do the grueling work in absolute silence. Protect your fragile new energy. Let your concrete results speak for you later.
Let people be completely surprised when they bump into you in 3 months and you are suddenly speaking fluent, confident English, or you look physically totally different.
The element of surprise is a very powerful motivator.
I really like that. It's mysterious. It feels like you have a secret superpower you're building in the dark.
And practically, it protects your mental energy too. You aren't wasting hours worrying about what people think of your daily updates. You are just entirely focused on the daily grind.
So, David, as we wrap up, can you quickly recap the entire 2026 comeback formula for us? Just hit the main headlines so our listeners can lock it in.
I would love to. Here is your ultimate checklist to completely change your life over the next 3 months. Number 1, clarity. You must get brutally honest about your quiet habits and your favorite excuses. Write them down.
Got it.
Number 2, identity shift. Stop obsessing over goals and start filling in the blank of, I am becoming the type of person.
I'm becoming a confident communicator.
Exactly. Number 3, the 90-day focus. Forget 5 years. Break the next 3 months into discipline to fix your biology, skill to build deliberate ability, and exposure to test it in the real world.
And remember, momentum builds confidence.
Yes. Number 4, remove distractions. Unfollow toxic accounts. Stop doom scrolling and plug your energy leaks. Number 5, upgrade your environment. Fix your messy physical space and elevate your social circle so you can benefit from positive osmosis.
And the final step.
Number 6, relentless consistency. Grow your brain by doing the boring work even when it hurts and you have zero motivation.
And the source guide actually ends with just 2 simple words.
Yes, it just says, that's it.
It's kind of funny because it makes it sound so simple, and honestly, reading through it, it is simple.
But simple absolutely does not mean easy.
Right.
Lifting a 500-pound weight is fundamentally simple. You literally just pick it up off the floor. But it definitely isn't easy.
That is so true. The true complexity is found in the simplicity. It is incredibly hard to do very simple, boring things every single day without quitting.
And that is the ultimate challenge. Most people are desperately looking for a magic trick. They want a secret shortcut or a hidden app that will make them fluent while they sleep.
But the secret is that there is no secret.
No, it's just doing the work in the dark.
Well, this has been an incredibly motivating deep dive for me personally. I definitely have some serious thinking to do about my own quiet habits and my phone usage.
For me as well.
Yeah.
I think I really need to do a brutal time audit this week and figure out where my fake work is hiding.
Before we go, we always like to leave a final provocative thought for our listeners. Something for you to chew on after you take off your headphones.
Yes. I want you, the person listening right now, to look at your calendar. Imagine actively starting your 90-day count today.
Not next Monday, not January 1st, today.
Right. If you genuinely followed this exact plan, if you really truly did the ugly work in silence for the next 90 days, who would you be 3 months from right now?
I want you to really imagine that version of you. Imagine them walking into a room and speaking English loudly and confidently. Imagine them finally feeling truly proud of themselves. Meeting that person would be pretty amazing, right?
It would be incredible. And the best part is you hold the absolute power to physically create that exact person.
Right.
But you have to make the choice to start the clock.
Today is day 1.
Day 1.
Thank you so much for listening to our English conversations. We sincerely hope you feel equipped and inspired to start your own quiet comeback.
Keep practicing, keep growing, and whatever you do, don't be afraid to face the truth.
We will see you in the next conversation.
Goodbye, everyone.